COVID-19 vaccines for Nigerians as the federal government takes delivery of over 4 million doses of Moderna from the government of the United States. Patients take the heat as resident doctors begin an indefinite industrial action nationwide. Federal government says it is yet to receive notice of action. In compliance with court order, the Department of State Services brings before the Federal High Court in Abuja 8 of the 12 arrested aides of Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Igboho. And UK and Iran summon each other's diplomats over last week's attack on an Israeli ship that killed 2 crew members off the coast of Oman. Plus, business, sports, news from Abuja, and later, international news from our studio in London.
On business news tonight, NNPC is set to announce its first ever in the dividend in the third quarter of this year.
On sports news tonight, Blessing Oborodudu qualifies for the final of the women's 68-kilogram freestyle wrestling event to secure a medal for Team Nigeria at the Tokyo Olympics.
And from Abuja, police elite squad of Operation Zender rescue abducted wife of the Benue State Commissioner for Lands and Survey and her driver, kill 3 of the kidnappers in the process.
And more Nigerians now have the opportunity to be vaccinated as the federal government has taken delivery of 4,080,000 doses of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine from the government of the United States. Addressing journalists at a brief ceremony to confirm the receipt of the vaccines in Abuja, the Director General of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency notes that the vaccines will be deployed for use as soon as the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, gives the approval for usage. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says the vaccine is potent against variants of interest, including the Delta variant.
Officials of the Federal Ministry of Health and representatives of the United Nations and the United States government take journalists around the National Ultra Cold Chain store where the recently arrived Moderna COVID-19 vaccines are stored. The Director General of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency confirms that 4,080,000 doses of Moderna were received from the U.S. government and stored in these ultra-cold stores. But the vaccines will not be deployed to states immediately as the government awaits further certification by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC.
Once we get clearance from NAFDAC, we're going to be sending the vaccines directly to the states, and then the states can start the process of deploying to the LGAs and the health facilities so that Nigerians can begin to get these vaccines as soon as possible.
The Moderna vaccine has a maximum shelf life of 5 to 6 months and must be stored in a -20 degrees Celsius temperature.
What's the expiration date for these vaccines that we just received?
It's the end of December. Yeah? End of December and end of January.
Beyond the issue of storage and lifespan, officials also clarify if the vaccine can be combined with the AstraZeneca vaccine as well as the potency of Moderna vaccine over the Delta variant.
For the Delta variants, what the data is showing us is that those vaccines are really effective against severe disease and also hospitalization. So we know that for the Delta variant, so we're good to go.
Additional doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine will be coming to Nigeria, and we'll be able to cater for those people who have taken their first doses. We'll give them second doses, but beyond that, there will be additional opportunities for people to be given AstraZeneca vaccine, if that is what their preference is.
The federal government officially ended the first phase of COVID-19 vaccination exercise 3 weeks ago, after the country exhausted the 4 million doses of AstraZeneca that was received from the COVAX facility in March this year.
Meanwhile, there are now 32 confirmed cases of the Delta variant across 5 states of the Federation, with the highest number identified in Akwa Ibom State. This is according to the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, Dr. Chikwe Hekwazu, during a press briefing by the Presidential Steering Committee in Abuja. The NCDC boss, who disclosed that out of 23 confirmed COVID-19 cases in Akwa Ibom State, 19 were identified as the Delta variant, noting that the variant might be responsible for the increased test positivity ratio, pegged at about 6% in the country, with Lagos alone accounting for over 50%.
Right now, we found, as of this morning, 32 confirmed cases of the Delta variant in Nigeria, 32, right, from 5 states: Abuja, Oyo, Cross River, Lagos, and Akwa Ibom. Some of these have been in returning travelers, some have been local transmissions. Now, the biggest batch of sequencing that we got this morning was out of Akwa Ibom. So out of 23 cases there, 19 were the Delta variant, and that's why I said 80% of the cases in Akwa Ibom today sequencing is a very complex activity, turned out to be Delta. So that is likely, that is the most likely cause of the increased transmission we're seeing suddenly out of Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom was not one of the hotspots in the first and second waves, remember. We had FCT, Kaduna, Lagos, so this is really a new state, so a lot of attention. So most likely, somehow someone returned to Akwa Ibom with a Delta strain, started transmission activities, and given the increased transmissibility of this variant, we're now seeing quite a number of cases happening. So we're intensifying action in Akwa Ibom to contain it. And so far, right now, there have been a few studies that have shown that even with the Delta variant, the vaccine is very effective in preventing severe cases, hospitalizations, and deaths.
And in the face of the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic, the Lagos State government has reiterated the need for residents to continually embrace the non-pharmaceutical interventions of mandatory face masks and physical distancing in public places, regular hand washing, and avoidance of all non-essential movement. At a briefing in Alausa, Lagos, the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, said the state has been experiencing an increase in the number of daily confirmed cases of COVID-19. The governor also announced that there will be no mixing of vaccines, as the Moderna vaccine received today will only be for the unvaccinated.
In line with our commitment to continually update you on the progress of our collective fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. As I noted in my last address, which was on the 10th of July 2021, from the beginning of July, we had started to experience an increase in the number of daily confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Lagos State, with a positivity rate that was going from about 1.5% at the end of June 2021. We saw a growth to about 7% at the end of July 2021. In fact, between the first and the second, yesterday in particular, we've seen a growth of about 9%. So this has shown that we've seen about 8-fold increase over the recorded figure a month ago. And it should rightly alarm all of us. This had resulted in about 4,300 confirmed cases nationally in July alone, and we've seen about 355 admission in our isolation center within the month of July alone. You know, for people that have taken the first dose of the AstraZeneca, they cannot mix it with the Moderna that has just been received now. But we're still expecting a second allocation of the AstraZeneca vaccine, and we've been assured that it should come before the end of this month.
Patients at federal hospitals across the country appear to be in for another difficult time again, following a break in medical services with the announcement of an indefinite strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors, NAD, who are calling for improved welfare packages and implementation of agreements. Channels Television went round some states to see the level of compliance with the strike directive.
It's never a good sign for the health sector whenever grievances are levelled at the federal government by the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors.
We are aware of the house officers that have been having irregular salaries ranging from 3 to 6 months also, and nothing has been done about their salaries. So I'm surprised government is not aware of what is happening presently.
And that signal has formally kick-started a nationwide strike, with resident doctors toeing the line. In Lagos State, there is obedience to the call, a move the Chief Medical Director finds shocking, as he says resident doctors are not being owed by the state.
We tried to engage them to see whether we could convince them not to join the action, since they don't have serious issues with Lagos State government. But the reaction we got was that they will be sanctioned by the national body if they don't join.
But that's not the case in Oyo State, where the order has taken effect. The chairman, Association of Resident Doctors, University College Hospital, blames the federal government over what he describes as an insensitive approach to address the plight of doctors.
In UCH now, we currently have about 215 doctors who are still on the GVMIS platform. They have not been paid their May, June, July salaries.
In Edo State, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, there's a lot of movement, but none in the direction of medical service, an indication that the order is in force. The chairman of the Resident Doctors Association chapter in the state decries the non-payment of salaries to resident doctors for months, one of the many issues.
We called off the strike when we got promises. Our deadlines were maybe 1 week, 5 days, 1 month. The longest deadline was a month, in which all our initial demands would have been resolved.
In Imo State, members of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors at the Federal Medical Center Owerri have fully complied with the directives of its national body to down tools and embark on an indefinite strike action. Patients appeal to the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, address the demand of the doctors.
Appealing to them, they should start with our health institution and our health personnel. They should, see their welfare so that they'll take care of our health.
In Kaduna State, while resident doctors in the federal tertiary hospitals, such as the National Eye Center and Ahmadu Bello Teaching Hospital Zaria, have complied with the directive by the national body, their counterparts at the state-owned hospitals are yet to join in the strike. At the state-owned Barau Diko Teaching Hospital, Dr. Saeed Mohammed says they are yet to join in the strike as they have their own local issues, but sounds a note of warning to the federal government.
We are using this opportunity and medium to appeal to the federal government to do the needful and ensure that negotiations, discussions, and the promises they made are kept.
It was looking like it was going to be a smooth year for the health sector, but the announcement of an indefinite strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors has dashed that optimism.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Labour and Employment says it is yet to receive any strike notification from the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors, NAD. This is according to the Deputy Director, Press and Public Relations of the Ministry, Mr. Charles Akpan, who insisted that the federal government is unaware of any strike by the resident doctors, as there was no letter written to the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to that effect. He, however, notes that the non-receipt of a strike notice will not deter the Ministry ministry from performing its role as the chief conciliator of labour disputes in the country. In part 2, after the break, we have more on labour matters as federal government holds talks with ASUU. Plus, DSS brings before the Federal High Court in Abuja 8 of the 12 arrested aides of Yoruba Nation agitator in compliance with court order. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. More COVID-19 vaccines for Nigerians as the federal government takes delivery of over 4 million doses of Moderna from the government of the United States. Patients take the heat as resident doctors begin an indefinite industrial action nationwide. Federal government says it is yet to receive notice of action. In compliance with court order, the Department of State Services brings before the Federal High Court in Abuja 8 of the 12 arrested aides of Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Igboho. And UK and Iran summon each other's diplomats over last week's attack on an Israeli ship that killed 2 crew members off the coast of Oman. With labour matters, where a meeting between the federal government and the academic staff union of universities aimed at ironing out issues around universities revitalisation and university transparency and accountability solution UTAS and IPIS ended in Abuja. The Minister of Labour and Employment says the meeting was part of the agreement it reached with the lecturers for periodic review of progress made in the implementation of the MOU they signed in January. On the part of ASUU, the president of the association notes that the union is fairly satisfied with the level of implementation and also allayed fears of an industrial action. And to the judiciary, the Department of State Services today brought 8 of the detained 12 aides of Sunday Adeyemo, also called Sunday Igboho, before the Federal High Court, Abuja. Justice Obiora Egwatu had issued a fresh order on Friday last week, ordering the DSS to bring the aides before the court, having failed to present them at the last sitting on the 23rd of July. At the resumed sitting, the counsel to Igboho's aides asked the court to mandate the DSS to bring the remaining 4 aides in court at the next adjourned date. There was, however, mild drama between journalists and DSS operatives who barred cameramen from taking videos of the aides in the courtroom.
Operatives of the Department of State Services seen manhandling a photojournalist from Vanguard newspaper, barring him from taking pictures of the aides to Sunday Igboho. The operatives wait for a while, probably deliberating on their next line of action. Finally, the 8 filed into the court presided over by Justice Obiora Egwatu. There's a shouting match between journalists and the DSS operatives as they prevent cameramen from gaining entrance into the courtroom to take videos.
It's a public place. You can't gag us. You can't gag us. It's a court. This is
When hearing resumes, the counsel to Igboho's aides pray the court to grant their processes to reflect the proper names of the applicants, an application that the counsel to the DSS, Idowu Awu, does not oppose. They also asked the court to mandate the DSS to produce the other 4 applicants in court at the next adjourned date.
We discovered that there are some errors in our document which we need to quickly correct. And of course, we moved the application today, and the court has graciously granted it. DSS didn't come with the 12 people arrested in Chief Sunday Igboho's house today. DSS came to this place with just 8 of them. You know, even when we visited the DSS facility, we were only allowed to see 4 of them. So we believe that the DSS is coming out. Gradually, the DSS will have to succumb to the process of law. We also needed to perfect our documents before the court. For example, some of the names we had earlier are nicknames. Some of the names the DSS published there are errors and mistakes. So we need to clear all the irregularities and be sure that we are proper before the court.
Igboho's aides dragged the DSS before the Abuja High Court on their fundamental human rights, challenging their prolonged detention since July 2nd, 2021, without trial. The trial judge, Justice Iguatu, adjourned the case to August 4th for hearing. The counsel to the DSS was, however, not available to speak on the day's proceedings.
And to other stories, following predictions from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency NIMET warning, intending road and air travelers in the country have been asked to reconsider their travel plans during the period of heavy rainfall. In its prediction, NIMET said heavy rainfall is expected in parts of the north central, northeast, southeast, and a few other north central states. And you can see the states there: Kaduna, Niger, Plateau, Bauchi, Enugu, Anambra, all of the southeastern states, Ebonyi, Imo, Abia, Benue as well, the Federal Capital Territory, and this is between July 31st and August 1st. While moderate to heavy rainfall, according to NIMET, is expected over parts of Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, Jigawa, Yobe, Borno, Gombe, Adamawa, Taraba, a few of the northeastern states, also the north central like Kwara, Kogi, Nasarawa, and some of the south states, Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. Now, in its impact-based weather forecast for 3 days, NIMET notes that the states are at risk of experiencing flooding of roads, low-lying settlements, streams, and also river channels. The weather agency also adds that disruption of traffic due to flooded or closed roads, reduction in visibility, delay in flight operations, damage to mud houses or makeshift structures, possible damage to roads and bridges. All these are expected to occur during the period as well of the rains. And hence the advisory is that the public should exercise restraint and wait until after the rains to commute. Also, emergency agencies are to be prepared and to keep monitoring, amongst others. Well, to get further insights into this issue, we have joining us live from our Abuja studios the Director General of the Hydrological Services Agency, Mr. Clement Eze. Welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here again.
All right, Mr. Eze, we know this latest warning is from a sister agency, NIMET, but what is your reading of the actual situation?
Both NIMET and the Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency work hand in hand. I think these are the two front line forecasting agencies at the national level. And if I must say, in the country as a whole, their prediction in terms of weather forecast and advisories, I think they are in order and have been in tandem with what has been happening on ground in most states of the Federation. Their warning needs to be heeded.
Now, this prediction is about rainfall, but what can you tell us about the likely effect when water is released from the popular Lagdo Dam in Cameroon, for example?
See, we are inching gradually into the storms of flooding in Nigeria. What I've been witnessing in many states of the country are flash flood that came into being due to local rainfall. Maybe that of Lagos may be a combination of local rainfall and the coastal issues. The issue of Cameroon Lagdo Dam is out of it for now. They are still impounding water in Cameroon. If I thought they would release water from their dam, it will be towards the end of September. Currently, they are doing impoundment. So any flood that has occurred in the northeastern part of Nigeria, like that happened in Jalingo on the 10th of July, was due to local rainfall, and it was aggravated by poor drainage system and the encroachment on the flood plains. That's what called that Jalingo flood of 10th July. So there is no clear-cut idea as at now if there will be release of water from Cameroon.
Mr. Eze, I mean, this is also another 9-month warning as with previous years. What do you expect from the people, from the government, and this is in the face of these predictions?
You see, okay, that's a minor correction, or it's really a better correction. My name is Nze, not Eze. Now, when the predictions are made by the two forecasting agencies, we expect the state governments to take prompt action. Just as we see them, the actors in the states congregate at the spots where the damages have been done, like in Lagos, in Jalingo, in Bauchi. We saw most of, even state governors were on site. So we expect the state governments, local governments, councils to put their hands on the deck, clear drainages that are blocked, remove structures like what is happening in Abuja as at now, structures that are blocking the waterways, like in Day, Sunday Adewusi Estate or Threadmore Estate in Lube. They have been marked for demolition. So state governments should muster the courage to remove the structures that are blocking the waterways, no matter the persons that have put such structures, clear the drainages, and also commence relocation of people from the flood-prone areas. Flooding is a global issue. No matter the level of precaution you take, you expect to have flooding. But the aspect of disaster is the major issue. To avert the disaster component of flooding, relocate people that are within the flood plains to higher grounds. That's what could be done now.
All right, we'd like to appreciate your time on the program. The Director General of the Hydrological Services Agency, Mr. Clement Nze. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
It's my pleasure.
When the News at 10 returns, police rescue abducted wife of Benue State Commissioner for Lands and Survey and her driver kill 3 of the kidnappers. Plus, NNPC set to announce its first dividend in the 3rd quarter of this year. That's on Business News. Do join us again. And we're back in Abuja for some more stories. Here's Linda Akigwe. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent. Men of the police elite squad Operation Zenda in Benue State have rescued Mrs. Anne Onenge, wife of the State Commissioner for Lands and Survey. 3 of the kidnappers were killed during the rescue mission. She was kidnapped last Thursday while returning from Daldu town, where she went to pay her parents a visit. She was said to be driving a new model Toyota Highlander, which her abductors also took away. Governor Samuel Ortom applauded the police for their effort, which prevented payment of ransom.
Men of the police elite squad of Operation Zenda are in high spirit at the force headquarters in Makurdi following the successful rescue of Anne Onenge, wife of the State Commissioner for Lands and Survey, and her driver, who were both abducted 4 days ago. It was indeed a traumatic time for the victims while they were with their abductors. Meanwhile, the remains of 3 of the kidnappers killed in a gun duel with the police are paraded with the weapons recovered, just as Governor Samuel Ortom vows to tackle the menace of kidnapping in the state.
It is said that many days will be for the thief, but one day will be for the owner, as you can see today. So this is an example to friends of Benue people. If you join hands with criminals to perpetuate evil against our people, one day you will be apprehended. We are not going to relent. And I'm sure the police and other security agencies will not relent. Government will not relent. Because the primary responsibility of every responsible government is to ensure security for lives and property.
Following his order to demolish the building used by the kidnappers, the security advisor leads his security team to effect the directive.
these few days...
According to one of the neighbors, the owner of the property located within the BOPC quarters in Yiman sold the house, but recently new faces began to show up in the area.
We know ourselves here. We grew up here in this particular Yiman. So when we notice the strange movement, even within ourselves, we have been talking and asking ourselves some certain questions where these faces came from, but we actually do not know what they have been doing. So within these 4 days, in fact, even we ourselves, while we heard the shots this morning, we were shocked because we never believed that something of such would ever happen here.
Addressing reporters after the demolition, the security advisor warns property owners to conduct due diligence before renting or selling off their property to avoid getting into trouble.
Apart from the arrest and prosecution of the offenders, it also prescribes the demolition of properties that are used for those kidnapping. And this building that has just been demolished here falls within that category. This is the building that has been used by these bandits, these kidnappers, in hiding victims while they negotiate for ransom.
While efforts are on to trace the whereabouts of the person who bought the property, authorities say security in the state has been scaled up as cases of high-profile kidnapping have been on the increase lately.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, has approved the posting of Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Tunji Disu, as the new head of the Police Intelligence Response Team, IRT. The posting of the officer is on the heels of management's decision to fill the leadership gap within the IRT and refocus the unit following the suspension of DCP Abba Kyari, who is being investigated over his alleged link to Hush Puppy. In a statement, the IGP challenged the new head of the IRT to demonstrate his professional competence in his leadership of the unit and discharge of its responsibilities in line with national laws and international best practices. Prior to his appointment, Mr. Disu, a former commander of the Rapid Response Squad, RRS Lagos State, was a Deputy Commissioner of Police, Department of Operations, Force Headquarters, Abuja. He had also served at the State CID Rivers State Command as the Deputy Head of Unit, a former commander of a Nigeria Police contingent to the African Union Peacekeeping Mission in Darfur, Sudan. The federal government has announced plans to enforce a control for breast milk substitutes. The plan, according to the Director of Family Health at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Salma Anas, aims at promoting exclusive breastfeeding adherence by women, which is currently at 29%. Speaking at a news conference to mark the 2021 World Breastfeeding Week in Abuja, she adds that sensitization will be given top priority as part of efforts to attain the World Health Organization's target of 50% by 2025. And that's all from Abuja. Now to Melinda for business news.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Many thanks, Linda. Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is set to release its 2020 financial statement in the third quarter of this year. Its Group Managing Director, Mele Kyari, made this known today at an event organized by the Society of Petroleum Engineers in Lagos. He says the NNPC statement of accounts for last year will be made public within the next 2 months. And this will be the first time in the country's history that the National Oil Company will declare a dividend to Nigerians. Nigeria's loan provision from the World Bank and the African Development Bank has risen from $7.14 to $14.25 billion between June 2015 and March this year. According to data obtained from the Debt Management Office, the figure represents an increase of 98.48%. Let's look at those numbers now. A breakdown of the debt include loans of $11.10 billion and $410.23 million obtained from the International Development Association and International Bank for Reconstruction and Development of the World Bank. The AFDB's commitment to Nigeria stood at $2.74 billion, representing 8.3% of the country's total external debt. The central bank has assured the public that it will monitor the commercial banks to ensure they meet the legitimate forex demand of their customers. In a statement, its acting director of corporate communications, Mr. Osita Wanisobi, revealed that the CBN has set up a monitoring mechanism to guarantee the seamless sale of foreign exchange. The CBN further asked operators of domiciliary accounts to dismiss speculations that it planned to convert the foreign exchange in their domiciliary accounts into naira. Outside our shores, South Africa's Department of Trade and Industry and Competition Minister has announced that 3.9 billion rand had been raised to respond to the needs of factories, companies, small businesses, amongst others, whose properties were stolen or destroyed during a series of looting and arson attacks last month. But there's a catch. Businesses applying for assistance have to be compliant with all laws pertaining to their sectors and be up to date with tax payment. Channels Television asked the director of the Department of Small Businesses about the structure of assistance that will be given to the qualifying businesses. And back home, MTN Nigeria saved the day for what would have been a moody Monday for the stock market as key market indicators record a moderate increase at the close of today's trading session. Ini John Mekwa tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Markets Report. Well, we're beginning the week and the trading month on a positive note. The market's total value went up by 30 billion naira. That's 0.15% added to the equities market at the close of trading today. So the all-share index was also up 0.15%, but deals, value and volume were lower than Friday's session. Now, let's take a look at the sector, starting with banking. Banking was up marginally, while consumer goods, oil and gas, as well as industrial goods lost larger chunks from their indexes. Transcorp led the trades by volume after its shares was traded in 209 deals worth over 40 million naira, while GTCO led by value at almost 230 million naira for 392 deals. That's a negative market breadth at the end of trading today because we had 20 gainers and 26 decliners. But it's still a good way to start the week. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Ini John Mekwa.
Many thanks, Ini. Meanwhile, major stocks in the United States ended the day's trading session mostly lower amid concerns about COVID variants and slowing economic growth. Here are some of the closing figures for Monday. That's business news. Back to you, Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Melinda. Still ahead on the news at 10. UK and Iran summon each other's diplomats over last week's attack on an Israeli ship that killed 2 crew members off the coast of Oman. There's other international news from our studio in London. Please stay with us. The UK and Iran have summoned each other's diplomats in a row over last week's deadly attack on an oil tanker off the coast of Oman. The UK, US and Israel blame Iran for the attack in which 2 crew members, a Briton and a Romanian, were killed. Iran has dismissed the accusations as baseless. For more international news, let's head over to our London studio where Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A sprinter from Belarus who refused her team's order to fly home early from the Olympics has been offered asylum in Poland. Krystyna Tymanovskaya spent the night secured in a hotel under protection from Japanese police after saying she was forcibly taken to the airport for criticizing her coaches. She voiced fears for her safety if she were to be returned to her country.
She's at this moment at the Polish embassy.
Poland's Deputy Foreign Minister said the athlete was in direct contact with Polish diplomats in Tokyo and that Poland would do whatever is necessary to help her to continue her sporting career. Ms. Tymanovskaya was pictured entering the Polish embassy in Tokyo after arriving in an unmarked silver van. The death toll from floods in China's central Henan province has risen sharply to at least 302. That's according to official reports. About 50 people remain missing after the region was engulfed by severe flooding caused by heavy rainfall. Almost 13 million people were affected and nearly 9,000 homes have been damaged. The majority of the deaths have been reported in the city of Zhengzhou, where floodwaters inundated the city's subway system and vehicles were swept away. The city reported a year's rainfall within the space of just 3 days. 2 more people have died due to the sweeping wildfires in southern Turkey, taking the death toll there to at least 8 people. Most of more than 100 blazes that erupted in Turkey in the last 5 years have been contained, but fires are still blazing in some tourist areas, prompting the evacuation of some residential areas and hotels. Thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes already. Support teams from Russia, Ukraine and Azerbaijan have been deployed to help fight the fires. The Australian Army has been deployed to assist with Sydney's COVID-19 outbreak in the city's second month of lockdown. Some 300 Army personnel under police command were deployed to deliver essential food items to households in self-isolation, ensuring people who have tested positive are isolating at their homes. The city of Sydney is into its 6th week of a lockdown as it struggles with a spike of infections that added nearly 3,500 cases so far. The German NGO rescue ship Sea-Watch 3 is now carrying 263 migrants on board after rescuing even more people in the morning in the Mediterranean Sea. The humanitarian ship was one of 2 rescue ships that pulled 394 migrants from a dangerously overcrowded wooden boat in the Mediterranean Sea overnight on Sunday, in an operation that lasted around 6 hours. On Monday morning, crew members rescued another 12 migrants from a boat in distress and said they are urgently seeking a port of safety. The Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has blamed the country's fast deteriorating security situation on what he called a sudden decision by the United States to withdraw their troops. Taliban insurgents have moved in on 3 provincial capitals in the last few days amid rapid advances nationwide since Washington said it planned a complete withdrawal of troops by September. Peace talks between the Afghan government and Taliban negotiators started last year in the Qatari capital of Doha, but have not made any substantive progress despite a few rounds of discussions. A ban on cruise liners from the Venice Lagoon starting this month has ended years of political hesitation. This was the first cruise ship since lockdown to set sail through the Venice Lagoon, but it may also have been one of the last. The ban came in reaction to threats by UNESCO to put Italy on a blacklist for not banning liners from the World Heritage Site. From August the 1st, ships weighing more than 25,000 tons will be prohibited from the shallow Giudecca Canal that leads past Piazza San Marco, the city's most famous landmark. And finally, Beauval Zoo in central France has welcomed the birth of 2 baby pandas. Female panda Juan Juan was cheered by zoo staff as they watched surveillance camera footage of her giving birth and later holding her babies. Juan Juan and her partner Yuanzi came to France on loan from China in 2012, and their arrival was hailed at the time as a sign of warming diplomatic ties between Paris and Beijing. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Time now for some sports news. Blessing Oburududu has ensured Nigeria will get either a gold or silver after qualifying for the final of the women's 68 kilogram in wrestling. Oburududu comprehensively beat her opponent from Mongolia by 7 points to 2 to reach the final. Jamaica's Elaine Thompson-Herah is on course to complete a sprint double after equaling her personal best to qualify for the women's 200 meters final. The 100 meters champion clocked 21.66 seconds to lead the qualifiers for the final. Sweden will get another opportunity to fight for a gold medal at the Olympics after defeating Australia 1-0 in the semi-final of the women's football event in Tokyo. The Swedes dismissed the Aussies for the second time in the Olympic tournament following a 4-2 victory in Group G on July the 24th. And China leads the medal table at the Tokyo Olympics after all sporting action on day 10 with 29 gold, 17 silver and 16 bronze medals, followed closely by the US, who have 22 gold, 25 silver and 17 bronze medals. Host Japan are in third position with 17 gold, 6 silver and 10 bronze medals, while Australia occupy the fourth position, having 14 gold, 4 silver and 15 bronze medals. Russia Olympic Committee ends the day in fifth position with 12 gold, 21 silver and 17 bronze, while Nigeria is yet to officially appear on the medals table. That's a wrap on sports news. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Tunde. And finally tonight, it's been 24 years since the passing of Afrobeat legend Fela Kuti. The multi-instrumentalist singer, songwriter and performer died at the age of 58 in 1997 from complications related to HIV/AIDS. The singer, who is renowned for his activism through music and also for his unique blend of jazz, high life, funk and rock music today, stands as one of the biggest musical influences from the Black continent. His legacy sprouts two generations of Afrobeat singers within his own immediate family, including Grammy nominees Femi and Seun Kuti, with the latest being his grandson, Made Kuti. Raving pop acts across different genres, including Grammy winners Wizkid, Burna Boy, South African rapper aka The Band, and many others, have confessed to drawing musical influences from the dexterous composer. Fela was nominated for an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021, but narrowly lost out. While he has been gone for 24 years now, his legacy lives on.
What are you going?
And the main news again. The federal government today took delivery of over 4 million doses of Moderna vaccine from the government of the United States. This came as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control said 32 cases of the Delta variant of COVID-19 has been recorded in the country. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Have a good night and stay safe.